Susan, do you have a really cool piece of currency?
I do. I have an 1891 silver certificate. It is the first bill that had a female on it. There's been a lot of, it's especially important now because there's been a lot of press about the first female going on a bill. Unfortunately, that's incorrect because this was, which is why I find this bill so interesting. That and the artwork is absolutely amazing on it.
What is it that's so fascinating about it?
It's all about history. You can tell the history of our country just by watching the differences in the banknotes. In the early 1800s, this is a large size note. The larger size notes, men had larger wallets, so they carried larger size bills. As the wallets got smaller, so did our tender. So it tells our history.
And how would you suggest to get other people involved in banknote collecting?
First, start young. At another show I was at, we had a father that came up and he's like, I don't know about getting my kids involved in this. And I'm like, start small. Bring them with you. He's like, well, I have one that's 13. I'm like, a lot of times there's a lot of other things. They're interested in jewelry. But more importantly, they'll enjoy spending time with you. And my dad did that when we were younger, which is why, when he got ill, he's like, can you do the shows? And I'm like, I don't know a whole lot. He's like, you can learn. Of course I can learn. So that's how I got started.
This is one of my favorite examples. This is a First Charter $20 national banknote. This is very rare. Regardless of the condition, you don't see nice $20 First Charter national banknotes without any negative comments. This example is an exceptional piece, primarily because of the high grade, about uncirculated 58, and it comes with the moniker EPQ, exceptional paper quality, which you normally do not see for this rare note. What's different about the First Charter series is that on the back of these notes, they would use actual works of art as the back engraving for the note. On this particular example, they used the baptism of Pocahontas, which was, I believe, in 1670 in Jamestown, Virginia. And I did some research on who these figures are. This woman on the ground is Pocahontas' sister. This gentleman here looking back is her brother, and he is looking at their uncle. This is a very exciting piece and represents a fantastic piece of American history.
For viewers that don't know, what is a First Charter note?
The National Banking Series, let me try again. The national banknotes were issued in 3 different charters. The first charter was issued from 1862 to 1882. The second charter was from 1882 to 1902. And the third charter was 1902 till 1929, where they just completely revamped the series and issued small size notes. The first charter, each bank was issued a charter that was good for 20 years. This bank was issued a 20-year charter, and they would issue this note to denote the first charter.
What kind of value?
This is another bargain in numismatic floor, because you won't find another piece as nice as this. And we are asking $32,500 for this rare note.
Here we also have is a 1928 $500 gold certificate, which is extremely just as scarce as the $1,000 counterpart. Again, these were called in 1933 for the president. You cannot own gold or gold certificates because it was against the law to own them at the time. So again, these are extremely rare and in this condition. In 500s, there's probably around, I would say, 60 to 70 of these also known in conditions.
What was the concept behind a gold note?
The concept behind a gold note was that this note was turned in for gold. So you could go at the time to the bank and turn these in for gold, $500 worth of gold coins, whether you wanted them in 20s, 10s, or 5s, or 2.5s. So these were all backed by gold coins at the time. hard-earned money.
What kind of value?
Now, in a note like this, an XF40, you're probably looking around a $16,000 price range in the condition that this note is in.
This morning we got an interesting obsolete banknote. It's a 50-cent note from the Bank of Edwardsville, Illinois, from September 1st, 1818. This is the only, this and the 25-cent note that looks just like it are the only notes that are dated during the territorial period of the state of Illinois. And it's a cute little note. Edwardsville is a town on the Mississippi River down south, where almost all the population of Illinois was back in the early days. Kaskaskia was the capital of the state of Illinois back then. It was also the territorial capital, which is right downriver from Edwardsville. And it's a really interesting note, being the only territorial of the state of Illinois.
Why did they use paper script?
Well, most of the time they didn't use paper script. This is kind of unusual because they were heavily a fur trading population down there. It was almost all French population in that whole area, and they were basically all fur traders. And this happened to be just a script issued by the new bank in Edwardsville. It didn't last very long, and neither did their notes.
What kind of value?
It's about $500, which is kind of unusually cheap for a note from the Illinois Territory period.
Well, I have a FR 1500 star. That's a 1928 $1 legal tender replacement note. And as many know, these are exceptionally popular, and star notes are quite rare. This particular note grades a PCGS 40 PPQ and bears a low serial number of 995. This note has a common nickname as the Puerto Rico note. The first 5,000 were sent to Puerto Rico for commerce and release. And so essentially the first 5,000 were released to Puerto Rico, and many call it the Puerto Rico note. Most people don't understand that. Most of them were issued, spent, released in the United States. Star notes, however, as many know, were replacement notes that were damaged through the printing process. So what we would do is we would print a small run of star notes, and as notes got damaged, whatever the case may be, miscut, they would slip them in. Because it's a short run in general, star notes are very rare and desirable, especially in high grade. Most of them weren't picked out of circulation early on, so most of them are pretty circulated. This particular example is one of the finest.
What kind of value?
We would put a value around $12,000 to $13,000 on this note.